So a lot of our customers work in multiple formats, 8x10, 4x5, 4x3, panoramic, and a question we often get is, would one cloth work with the multiple formats? And the answer is yes. Going from larger to smaller is possible, but there are some considerations. In fact, the original 8x10 design, we did figure out a way to do it. It just wasn't ideal. And part of the reason was because the original neck was constructed of 4 layers of fabric. Essentially, I over-designed it thinking it would wear better. But in fact, it just impeded the cloth's functionality. And the new style neck is a big, big improvement. And that's because the new style neck, in addition to having 2 draw cords instead of 1, has only 2 layers of fabric, and it gathers much more easily. And I'll demonstrate as we put it on the 8x10 and then the 4x5, and talk about some of the considerations if you are thinking of just using one cloth for multiple formats. So let's start with the 8x10. I know this particular cabinet is about 52 inches. The default neck size of this cloth is 60. So I'm going to take about 6 inches of slack out of it. And that introduces some elasticity to the neck. And we'll take the cloth. This is a hybrid style, so the white fabric will be on top. And all we're going to be doing is draping the black portion over the cabinet. That's the neck. So up over the top, stretch down the sides, and it's in place. Now what's going on with this particular neck is you have the 2 cords working in opposition to each other to keep the neck centered on the camera cabinet. And they also, by being slightly smaller than the camera cabinet itself, do a good job of blocking the light that would otherwise get into the darkened environment. So that's how it goes on the 8x10. I'll show you. It comes off really easily. Relax the tension on the forward toggle and the elastic relaxes and you can take it right off. Now this particular camera, well, the default neck size for my 4x5, 5x7 hybrid cloths is 46 inches. So I'll be taking much more slack out of the neck. Even before I do that though, I'll show you how flexible these necks are and take this one down to nothing. We'll go ahead and adjust it properly for this cloth to fit on the 4x5. So all that slack, and we've got an opening about that big. Center this, come around, repeat, drape, stretch, and it's in place. Working the exact same way as it did here. 2 cords working in opposition to each other to keep the cloth centered on the camera cabinet. Now I mentioned there are some considerations, and one of them is that there is so much fabric gathering it might actually get in your way a little bit, and positioning the black bag is a little trickier. So what this comes down to is you can do it, just might mean a little bit more finessing for you. And if you've watched the demonstration videos on the black bag, you realize there's Velcro around the neck of the cloth, and it's designed so that the Velcro actually can go up the sides pretty high for just the circumstances that we're faced with right now. The black bag itself has Velcro in a horizontal orientation, and it is designed to interact with the vertical. Pinch, stretch, pinch again, and it's in place. And really, it's just, you got a lot of fabric. You have additional weight because this is a larger cloth with more fabric in it. But then on the other hand, you do have some additional features. The trunks on the 8x10 cloths have the zipper, which makes it easy to flow the cloth over and get at your back of your camera. The sleeves have the extra feature flip ends. Should you not use the sleeves, it doesn't really matter in terms of performance, but some people might want to do that just for their own peace of mind. All our sleeves are oversized, so it's easy to get your hand in and out. I can easily find the opening of that sleeve with gloves on or not and get into the camera. And these hoods, the L shape, are adjustable. As I've aged, in particular, my own eyesight's changed radically, and I've built into the cloths an ability to adjust to the changing eyesight by letting you shorten or extend the cloth to match your eyesight. By default, the distance from ground glass to the back of the cloth is about 36 inches. But I can take about 10 inches out of that just by shortening that one elastic there. On the 8x10, you do have the option of adding a sleeve on the top for leaving the dark slide in when you're working in portrait mode. Since most 8x10 photographers are working close to their vehicle, it doesn't really matter that the cloth weighs more. But 4x5 photographers are often hiking into the wilderness and they want to minimize the weight of their kit. If you want to have just one cloth, and weight is a consideration, the silver style original cloth weighs about 10 ounces. It functions exactly the same as the hybrid, save one exception, and that is that since the silver style cloth is constructed exclusively of the silver fabric, it doesn't breathe. It's a coated fabric, essentially paint on fabric that impedes airflow and moisture. The zipper in the trunk you can open up and get more ventilation if you're working in hot and humid conditions. But generally I recommend the hybrid style because the top layer of fabric is a breathable fabric. It's a woven fabric and air can pass through, and it's much more comfortable to work in hot and humid conditions. But if you were trying to consolidate and have just one cloth, then this is an option. Functions exactly the same way, it has the exact same neck, just lighter weight. But I hope that has answered your question. Yes, the 8x10 cloth works with a 4x5. It works just fine. It's just if you're going to be carrying the cloth into the wilderness, it weighs a little bit more.